We good?
Yeah.
All right. So for the two people, as Bobby claimed, I think it's a lot more than that. But for the two people that don't know me, my name is Johnny Brown Lee. I go by the name of Slinkator Renaissance, man.
Johnny, I forgot you. I thought your name was Slint. I'm just
Yeah, I go by the name of Slinkator Renaissance, man. I am a ghostwriter. I am a speaker, workshop presenter. I'm a national touring speaker. So I speak a lot on Black history, and I do a lot of relationship talks. And I write for relationship articles, political articles, and hip hop articles. So.
All right. So when you said ghostwriters, I know some of our viewers probably like, okay, what is a ghostwriter?
A ghostwriter essentially is just like being in college. You write the paper for somebody else, they get the credit, but I get the money.
Yeah, I recently learned that from the Breakfast Club. Most of those hip hop songs are written by ghostwriters.
Yeah.
A lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, but see, it's in everything, right? So I ghostwrite articles for people.
Okay.
So somebody, like, a lot of times at a big magazine or at a big website, they'll have a workload that's way too much for them. So they'll source that out to other people.
Okay.
And that's when I'm there to swoop in and grab 2 or 3 of them off their hands, and I'll write it. They'll get the credit, and hopefully at the end of it all, they'll give me a recommendation to get some more work. That's how it's supposed to work. It doesn't always quite work like that, but that's how it's supposed to work.
Are you okay with it, knowing, because a lot of people, sometimes people want the credit. Are you okay with that?
I'm perfectly okay with it. It allows me to pay my bills. I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with somebody won an award recently and they didn't thank me on stage at all.
Talk to us about that person. I'm nosy.
No, we're not going to. The confidentiality agreements come with that. They're kind of big, but yeah, they won a pretty prestigious award, and they didn't think, like, none of the people that wrote the article actually. Like 3 or 4 people wrote the article, and yeah, we were not mentioned on stage at all. Like, yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Other than that, that's cool. You know, the check was nice, and the bonus came with it was nice, but you know.
Oh, you got paid, so I shouldn't be complaining, man. I mean, come on, you got paid, man. Some people do work, they don't get paid. You get paid, they just didn't mention your name.
A shout out on stage might have been the difference between a few $100s and a few $1,000s for the next article. Somebody in the audience might need that work.
True. That's true. But anyway, Slen, well, I don't know tonight if you want me to call you Slen or you want me to call you Johnny.
Whichever one you want, man. It's your world. I'm just happy to be here.
It's your world, man. You home, man. You home. But you're African American.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about your path to Florida Atlantic University.
Well, my path to Florida Atlantic University was, I didn't want to go to it like most people back in those days. I kind of found my way at FAU by mistake. The plan was to go to Florida State.
Your GPA was low?
I played football. I got hurt. So after I got hurt, the deal me and my mother worked out was that I would go to FAU for 2 years and then I'd make a decision. But I had already been to Florida State, and for my taste, I don't know about for nobody else, it was too boring up there for me to be that far away from home. And
bring the mic a little closer.
Okay. It was too boring for me.
Just bring it closer.
It was too boring for me to not be playing football.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because I felt like everything that they had, I could have got anywhere else at another college. So I was like, either I'm gonna either go up there and be bored, or either I'm gonna go up there and party too much. So
True.
I was like, I went to FAU for the 2 years, and then I just kind of got stuck. I made the right friends. Let's put it like that. I made the right friends, and it was like, I'm not going nowhere.
I mean, I'm not gonna tell people what year I went to, to FAU, but
way back,
way back. I mean, my manager wants you to be comfortable. I mean, if you have to pull back a little bit. Yes.
That's just how cool
when I got to
like
FAU, I saw this man, and at the time, there was Black Student Union.
Yes, sir.
There was Combi Creole. There was Jamaican Association.
Yo, every island had a club.
Every island had a club on campus. But this guy was the neutral guy. He's everywhere. When Haitian had beef with the Jamaican, this man was everywhere. With Haitian, Jamaican, like he was the middle guy. You know what I'm saying? So today I took my wife to a Combi Creole something anniversary. When was that? 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
And you were there. Like, people see you so much they think you're Haitian.
Yeah, they think I'm a lot of stuff, man.
You know what I'm saying? So, just like, talk to us about that Haitian community that you met at FAU that time that make you feel like you wanted to support this community.
I forced the Haitian community to accept me.
I must say, I mean, every single event I used to go to for Haitian events, he was always there.
He said-
Every single
No,
event
He
he
said
was
he
there.
forced the Haitian community to
Forced
accept him.
I mean,
to
yeah.
accept me, man. Like, all right, so when we first got to FAU, like all of the organizations were very split, very separate, like only into themselves. Nobody would go to each other's events, and nobody would support each other's events, right? So, like, the beef was like extremely real. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when I used to first go to KK meetings, like all of a sudden the whole meeting would switch to Creole. You know what I'm saying? Like not like in a few minutes, like instantly. It'd be like, whoa, okay. You know what I'm saying?
There's a stranger in the house.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, like, yo, Fed's in here. You know what I'm saying? They button up real quick. And it was other people that didn't understand Creole. That's the weird thing.
But you
But they
kept
didn't
coming
care.
back. You kept coming back.
Yeah, man. I was
Why?
like, yo, why? You know, there was a mission that had to be fulfilled on that campus. Like, the black people on that campus had to be unified, dude. And, like, it was, I guess you could say it wasn't just KK, because the Bahamians used to do the same thing to me. The Jamaicans used to do the same thing. When I go to their meetings, all of a sudden, patois out. Yo, really? Are we doing this? Like, can I get in the room and sit down first? Like, we're doing this? But the president at the time, Alex
Alex
was-
St. Louis.
Yes, sir. Alex was real cool with the president of BSU at the time. His name was Ansel Pratt. And Ansel forced me to be the marketing person for BSU. So he told me I had to go to everybody else's meetings to promote whatever event we was coming up. And I tried to hand Alex a flyer, and Alex wasn't accepting the flyer. Alex was like, nah. He was like, yo, he was like, you the president of the, he was like, you in Black Student Union, right? I was like, yeah. He was like, Haitians ain't black enough for you? I was like, but you know what's going to happen when I come to the meeting? He was like, you let me handle that. I was like, okay. So I went to the meeting. He told me, he sat me in the front row, sat me next to somebody, and made them translate everything. And after that, I never missed a meeting.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I remember
Shout out
even,
to Alex.
huh?
Shout out to Alex for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember even the time when I was president. Like at the time, you know, the members used to make fun of my English, but you were still there. I don't know if you understood what I was saying, but whatever I was saying, like,
Yo, I understand. I'm gonna say, and during that time, yo, by then I had multiple translators, so I could always look over at somebody and be like, oh, this is
What
what
he
he
just
said.
said?
Oh, okay, got it, cool.
But anyway, let's fast forward a little bit to your major. What did you major in while you were at Florida Atlantic University?
I majored in political science and urban and regional planning. Got kicked out of a whole lot of classes, arguing history with the teachers.
So is that something you always liked, like history and politics? That's something you always like since you were in high school? Or?
I want to say it took off to another level once I got to college. I can say I was interested, but not on the level that it became when I got to college. So like in college, it just got out of control though. Like everything, I needed the answer to everything, and I was one of the people, I needed the answer now. And if it didn't sound like, you couldn't, like a partial truth in a class didn't fly for me.
So how'd you end up getting your answers?
A lot of research on my own. Like it got to the point that BSU just started making me the go-to guy for all information on stuff. Like, so like anytime we had something that needed hosting or anytime we needed a topic, they would just throw it to me.
Yeah, you're becoming the Black History book.
Basically.
For social media, even
Yeah.
for social media. I'm sure if somebody needs to ask something, they go to you. Because all these people you're posting, I'm like, who is that? Like,
But see, I'm one of those
so,
people though, so I always like I need
I'm like,
answers.
where is he getting these from? Like you post 4 a day, and that's 28 days in February. Like, where are you getting these people
he's
from?
deep like that.
Which lead us to why you're here tonight. We're talking about Black History Month. What's your position on the whole thing? Because some people don't even agree with the idea
Well-
of having a Black History Month. What's your position on that?
Okay, now I can go either way with that, and I might say that a few times because I am a political scientist major, so I'm taught to argue both sides of an argument, right? But as far as it, okay, I've always looked at it like this: we can have a month, and the purpose behind the month is because we didn't have any kind of access to our history and our culture taught in school, right? So some people will argue, they'll be like, well, Black History Month is why we got the shortest month, or it's just this month and then we go back to being regular. Not necessarily, because see, I post Black History stuff all year round. And I do it the same way I did when I used to run the Black Student Union, right? And Bobby can tell you this. We can do Black History Month all year long, even in other people's months, right? So that's what I used to tell the people. Like, people used to complain in Black Student Union. They'd be like, well, why are we celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month? Because they are Black Hispanics. Why are we celebrating Jewish Heritage Month? Because there are Black Jews. Why are we celebrating Women's History Month? Because there are Black women, and this club is 70% women, and we surely didn't talk enough about Black women during Black History Month. So we can literally go through the whole year, and we can talk about Black history at any point in time, and it'll be relevant. And the reason I used to talk about it during other people's months, per se, is number one, so that I could prove to you that we could talk about it all year long, but also it gave us a chance to collaborate with other people that we probably wouldn't have talked with. So if you want to celebrate in February, we can celebrate in February, but I have a way that we can celebrate it all year long.
A lot of people kind of feel like because February is the shortest month, why is it dedicated to Black History Month and it's only 28 days, and why is it only a month?
Okay, but see, those are people that's uneducated, because first and foremost, we didn't get the shortest month. Nobody gave us anything. We took Black History Month. You see what I'm saying? Like, and they picked that month because of Frederick Douglass and I want to say what's his name, Lincoln, birthday being
Abraham
like
Lincoln, yeah.
So nobody gave us the month. It's not like somebody was like, oh, take this month. No, we took
Here's
the
the first
month.
month.
We really took the month. Like, it started with being a week. And then, like, as it grew, it just expanded to the whole month. There's stories of when they first started doing it, people was like, at the time, nobody was talking about Black history, period. So when teachers started first teaching it, people would, they wanted more. So it just kind of kept growing. So for anybody that says that it's just a month, I mean, I challenge you can do Black history every day, and you can find places where they talk about Black history every day. It's easy.
Yeah.
Black books.
Which I think you like the perfect person to ask those questions. I didn't know how it started, and I knew you would know. The thing is, personally, I'm more like I'm not into history at all, but being raised in Haiti, I'm speaking for myself, because there's probably other Haitians that knows a lot about history.
That would be
I don't.
Bobby.
Yeah, personally, I don't. So you would be the perfect person to ask that. I wouldn't know how did that start, you know?
Yeah, I was finna say, I was finna say, and if we looking for the founder, his name is Carter G. Woodson. So, yeah he's
Who would know that?
But I'm finna say Carter G. Woodson kicked it off. And the reason that he kicked off Black History Week, which ended up being a month, is he had a teacher that told him that Black people had no heroes, no legacy, no nothing. And it was kind of watch this type of thing. And he just went berserk with it.
Since Black History Month was chosen or was picked.
No, we took it.
Okay,
No,
was taken.
I'm saying
Get it
that right
straight.
there. Like, nobody gave us nothing. We took it.
Okay, so talk to us about some of the benefits of Black History Month.
Well, for people that don't get to learn it any other time, I'd rather them learn in this 1 month than not at all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people get super woke in February, and if that's the only time they're going to be, I'll take that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, unless you're going to bring me to your school or you're going to bring a speaker or somebody to specifically talk to the issue, or if you're going to take a class, but we know for a fact that on most college campuses, the
That's
Black
the way,
Studies
yeah.
Department is struggling most times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like, this is a point in time when people are going to be inundated with it because somebody's going to do something on TV, somebody's going to talk about it on the radio. When else does that happen?
But I'm gonna ask you this though: when they talk about Black History Month, what kind of black they talking about?
Well, it's not supposed to. It's supposed to be black. Period.
But do you think it is Black period, or it's just like African American black?
Not for me, it wouldn't be.
I mean, I know for you it's not.
No, I'm gonna
But
say
I'm just
that-
saying, you know, I'm
I
asking
think-
you a general
I think that-
question.
I think the misnomer is that it's African American History Month, right?
Pretty much.
And I would disagree with that because that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to just be black.
I think it's
Period. You know what I'm saying?
It's known for Black History Month. I know
Yeah.
at work, well, my old job, February, every Friday they get to wear either a shirt of. Some people even wear shirts from their grandmother.
Right.
Like, you know how we're African Americans, they do that a lot. If grandparents died, they make shirts.
Right.
So they get to wear that. Others wear African outfits. It's not really for African American. It's
Yeah, I
straight
think people.
black.
But
Because
I
don't
would
think it's
agree.
not
There are
supposed
people.
to be.
There are people that
It's not
would think
supposed to
that,
be
though.
Black
for that.
History Month.
But
It's
when you
not
look at it in
African
America,
History Month.
when you look at it, for instance, like when they say Black History Month, you think most people see African American month. Because for instance, like they don't. Well, I'm not saying you though. Most
I got
African Americans, they don't consider Haitians as being black. They feel like
I don't know how that.
Haitians are Haitians, Jamaicans are Jamaicans, but we are black. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like, there's a difference. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Come on,
Yeah, I know
I'm
where
pretty sure
you're
you heard
going.
that before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You heard that before. I was like, are you black? I was like, no, you Haitian.
Yeah, but that's the difference between okay. Now we talk about race and culture. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
so now we separated two
So-
totally different things. And
No, to come back to it, because I was talking to Will a few days ago when they talk about Black History Month. Very rarely you would see they talk about somebody outside of America.
Okay, in America, we got a problem with only paying attention to American stuff.
Very rarely, because they talk about Black History Month, they talk about Dr. King, they talk about Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, they talk about everybody, but you don't see any outsider, like any black. It's almost as if there's no other great black in the world.
such as Toussaint Louverture, the Moors, and all these people. Because my thing is usually when, especially around Black History Month, you talk about all these great people in our history in terms of black folks, but not so often do we go out of America to recognize these people.
I was going to say, but even if we just sat in America, we can knock off a whole bunch of people that are connected to other islands and whatnot. I mean, like if you go through the Black Panther Party itself, the Black Panther Party is like, like it's a bunch of islands represented.
Yeah,
up there.
Carmichael
like
was-
everybody is from somewhere
Sure,
else
yeah.
up in there. Like, it's not hard to do, really. You know what I'm saying? But it's a matter of, one, do you care? You know what I'm saying? And two, do you care to dig a little bit past?
I mean, this is what you do professionally. What do you think these other black people, they not in the history books in America?
Oh man, America don't like to talk about black people, about anything other than whiteness, period, almost. I mean, like, so for these great black people to not be in the history, they like to sanitize history. So, I mean, like, they talk about Martin Luther King, but they tell you a certain story of Martin Luther
Yeah.
King.
They wouldn't
You
want
see
you
what
to
I'm
see
saying?
it.
Like,
Yeah.
you do realize
They
how
don't talk much about Malcolm
Yeah, I
X.
was gonna say, you do realize how many people hated Martin Luther King's
Yeah.
guts when he was alive. They love him as a dead man.
Yeah.
The same thing they did with Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hated his guts alive.
They love him
You know
when he
what I'm
couldn't
saying?
talk anymore
when
because he
couldn't
used to talk
no
too
more,
much,
All
yeah.
of a sudden, he's national hero. You know what I'm saying? But like when he was doing what he was doing, like the death threats and the way they talk about baseball, Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
Right. If you read the stories of what they did to Jackie Robinson and the black reporter that would follow him around, like trying to cover him, it's outlandish. You know what I'm saying? But like, if you read in a history book, especially one in a school, you'd think that everybody was cool with it.
I think
It's
that
a-
can
it's a-
lead us into a segue to one of the things we want to talk about tonight, because you mentioned how for history sometimes they decide what they want to talk about, because we hear about a lot of things that happen, and one of the post that Bobby had today is for today is it possible that you've never heard of the greatest genocide that happened that no one ever talked about? Because what happened is that we decide what we want to talk about. We talk about the heroes and some of the history of black people we don't want to talk about. So tonight we want to mention a guy by the name of King Leopold II,
Yes, sir.
who was King of Belgium. So tonight, that's the person we want to highlight, because we've heard about
The Holocaust.
Hitler, about the Holocaust, because
You haven't even heard the
Big-
whole story of the
okay,
Holocaust.
no, I'm saying like people talk about, if you talk about what
Yeah.
is the greatest genocide, people will always mention
the Holocaust, about
Yeah.
like 6 million,
But 6 million Jews were killed. But we have a guy here that killed about 10 to 15 million
15
African, and no one, I mean, I don't want to say no one, but most people have
people
never
never
heard
heard of
of
him.
him.
History put a cross on that. That it never
Because
happened.
that's not important to talk about. So tonight, I think we want to talk about King Leopold II.
Okay, well, let's break it down for the people that don't know about King Leopold. King Leopold was the king of Belgium, right? And he basically just took over land in Africa and made like 2 countries worth of land a plantation for himself. And like he took it to a new level. So he had them growing coffee and chocolate and rubber. Rubber was
Rubber.
his big,
Rubber was
rubber
big,
was his
big.
big thing.
Yeah.
Right. And like when we talk about the number of people, like he didn't just kill people, he maimed people. Like if they didn't meet their rubber quotas, he was cutting hands off. And why? Honestly, it's a thing that's really just starting to sprinkle to the surface. And he's not even the only one, because I don't know if y'all have ever heard of Cecil Rhodes.
Yes,
He's
yeah.
another one.
Because to give people an idea of what we're talking about, because you mentioned he took a vast land, because the approximate size of the land was 900,000 square miles. Florida is about 65,000 square miles. He had 900,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that tells you the size of the land that was given to him. And we always talk about places being colonized, where, okay, this place was a colony of France or of Spain, of Portugal. That one, at the Berlin Conference, they gave it to him
That was his private property.
as his
right?
private
Yeah, that was his
property.
private
Not
property.
for like as a colony of Belgium, but his own thing for his personal
Yeah.
wealth. He was given that much land to do whatever he wants with it.
Essentially the whole Congo.
Yeah.
Yes, and call it the Congo Free
Right.
State.
Yeah, Free State. I mean, today this
And-
area is called
and-
Black Republic of Congo.
Yeah. Imagine Congo Free State. Yeah, the irony in the name. The
Free.
Congo Free State.
Yeah.
Because the reason why he did that is because he said that he was going to help those people.
Yes.
That's why he said
He's gonna bring culture.
Originally, he was going to bring culture to them, going to help them
It's always-
because they were, in dire conditions and things like that.
Uncivilized.
It's
Let's help them.
always, see, but that's been the story for forever on
Yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah.
So they always bring in what is culture and the religion,
Religion,
and
yeah.
the merchants. It's always something to start off with.
Always,
but
always. I mean, there are mixed feelings about, King Leopold, you know what I'm saying? So there are some people till today think like he was one of the greatest, king in Belgium history because of what he did, because he brought
Yeah,
wealth
for Belgium.
to Belgium. You know what I'm saying? Even when he had to give away Congo, he burned all evidence.
you think,
Because he said, one thing he said, they taken Belgium from me, but I don't want them to know what I did there.
right?
So he destroyed all the evidence. So you see some, allow me to use that word, that some white historians, they said there was no way they had 15 million people in this area. But we're talking about a vast area. It was in 1922 when they had like some sort of survey, they still had 10 million people
Yeah.
in that area.
I'm gonna say 10 million is the number we just went along with. It
Well.
was like, all right, we'll settle for 10.
So for 10, yeah.
We actually have no clue how
So-
many. It could be way more.
So, Johnny, you know, as a historian, like, you know, a public speaker yourself, why do you think about 10 to 15 million black people die and people don't talk about this? There's nothing against the Jews, but 6 million Jews died, and, you know, national holidays, and people talk with paration and all that. Why do you think those black people lives still don't matter? I'm not even gonna go to the Caribbean,
Right.
to Haiti, for instance, where, like, you know, slave killed thousand of blacks. Why do you think those 15 or more million people today don't have anything in history? Like, nobody even talk about them. Why?
It's political power, man. That's what this is about. That's political power right there. You see what I'm saying? Number one, we're not outraged about it. So we don't raise hell that this needs to be memorized, and not just memorized, like commemorated. You see what I'm saying?
But
Like,
how would you know about it if you didn't do your own personal research? Because it's not in our books.
No, it's not in our books, but we have people that know it that don't say stuff. Because people are, when you get to start speaking certain truth, there is a price to be paid for that. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm allowed to speak. I speak at colleges because most colleges will allow me to speak the way I want to. Right? I try to speak at high schools. I try to speak at middle schools. That's too deep. That's
They don't want that.
Yeah, like people ask me all the time, won't you be a teacher? I don't like curriculums. Like, I don't want to walk in and I don't like to be censored. I don't like curriculum. So I don't want nobody to tell me what I have to say and what they think is important for my students to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I go to conferences and we start talking about, I talk about businesses that benefited off slavery, right? And you don't even want to know how many times I've looked down or somebody has noticed in the audience that one of those businesses just so happened to be sponsoring this conference. It's an awkward situation. And if they could pull the mic on me, they would, but they paid me my money and we got a contract, so we'll let them go. Now, they might not invite me back, but we'll let them go for right now. But I've already affected the minds of everybody in the conference. Now everybody's looking at the paper because it don't take but one person to look down and
Now,
But there's no outrage from us. So if we have to make this a thing, and it can't be just the African people by themselves making that argument, right? Because it's easy to ignore one group of black people by themselves.
Yeah.
So do you think that if the black people in America was outraged about this thing that happened in the Congo, and if the Caribbean was raising heck about it too, you don't think that we could get a little bit, like that little piece of unity, you don't think we can get a little bit of recognition about that?
I think so.
Now, that's the problem of how do we get that to happen, and I can't tell you that I have the answer to it.
so now, do we have a duty as young professionals, young educated black men, if the media is not doing their job to propagate the news that happened for black people, for African, they keep that part of history buried. Do we have a duty to put it out there ourselves? Say, okay, we know what?
Absolutely.
If you don't want to put it out there, we will, because we can use the power of the internet, because some people use it for other things, but how about we say, as black educated men, let's use it to spread the news about things that is important to our community that people don't want to talk about. Well, we will talk about it.
Oh, absolutely. See, I tell people all the time that when they complain about the media, realize that we are now also the media too. So if CNN or Fox or whoever doesn't want to cover it, post about it. Get everybody to share it. This is why I like to go to colleges, right? Because in a college setting, you can talk about stuff in your meeting. You can bring it up in your classes, and you can change a curriculum just by what you bring up. See, if you start educating the teachers very rarely like to be outclassed by their students.
Yeah, you're right about
You see what I'm saying? Like, and I'll give you an example, right? When we were taking this class called something about the European Union. And in that class was myself and former president of Convict Creole, Nick Shire.
Nick Shire, yeah.
Right. And the lady, when she was talking about France, right? She always used to leave out that France got like mopped by Haiti, right? So she always left it out. So me and Nick both probably got kicked out of class more than one time about this, right? But I know by the end of the semester, she would not leave it out because she knew that if she did it, 2 hands were going up in the back, and the truth will be told up in here today. You know what I'm saying? So so I would ask my friend who came into the class afterwards. I'd be like, when she talked about France, she said anything about Haiti? I was like, yeah. I was shocked. I was like, yeah, you don't know the battle that's being fought in the class before you. Then that's why you're shocked. So I'm willing to bet to this day, just to save herself from looking crazy, she still talks about Haiti whenever she talks about France. I can almost guarantee it because for a year or two afterwards, she had to deal with us.
Yeah.
And she got to the point where she just conceded the battle. It was like she started bringing up stuff that now I'm actually learning. So I made her go research.
But let me ask you this: as an African American, when did you find out about Haiti?
Okay, I went to Ely High School, so I went to school with a lot of Haitians. I knew the little stuff.
So that was around the time there were big conflicts between the Haitians and the African Americans,
Oh,
right?
yes, sir. Well, the Haitians and everybody. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, get
The
beat up,
Haitians
you know.
I'm finna say they're big. I'm finna say the Haitians at Ely, their biggest conflict wasn't necessarily with the African Americans.
Everybody.
The biggest
Jamaican,
conflict was
the
the
Haitians.
biggest conflict was with the Jamaicans.
I remember
Jamaicans,
high school
yeah.
days,
I was going to say, because they
Yeah.
had huge delegations at Ely. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't know sometime that the
Yeah,
school
I
is in
remember
America.
high school
You'd be like, sometimes you just feel like, okay, you know what? I'm going to just go this way. Not get in the middle of this right here. So, yeah, like, at Ely, I knew the 1804 stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't get the details until I got to college and I got to, like, Comic Creole.
Yeah.
That's when like things started clicking. Like I didn't get just the general, but the details of the situation, the why, the how. You know what I'm saying? The who. That's when it all started to make sense. And I was like, okay, all right, cool. Now I got something to go with here.
So when do you feel that it is appropriate, in a sense, that to start teaching kids, especially black kids with non-Haitian background, about the importance of Haiti to America or to blacks in the Western world in general?
Immediately. As quick as we can talk about the Louisiana Purchase, we need to talk about Haiti. And we start talking about the Louisiana Purchase at around, what, like the 2nd grade? Okay, well then you need to give them the details of why that's
Why it
possible.
happened? Yeah.
Yeah. But one thing I always think, too, if you're talking about, like, you know, the slavery, you're talking about freedom, black freedom, like, I can't see how you could just omit Haiti.
I don't either.
I can't see. Like, for all those teachers, professors, you know, in universities and colleges across the country, like, you know, who specialize in, you know, black history or African American history, I can't see how you just omit Haiti in this whole thing. I can't see how you just jump from when everything started, the slave trade,
Right.
and you just got here, okay, there's no more slavery, and you skip a big portion of it.
Laziness.
It's not laziness. Some of it is purposely.
I think
Because
so. I think so.
I'll tell you one
I agree
thing.
with
I'll
that.
tell you one thing. I've spoken to people from various Latin countries who do not know their history in terms of Haiti fighting for them to be free.
No. When I say laziness, I'm talking about, like, I know some people refuse to do it, but for example, there are black teachers that don't know about it. That's why I'm saying that's lazy, because
You
them,
think
they don't have.
don't know about it? Do you really think they don't know about it?
I've talked to people who doesn't have a clue.
Yeah, you gotta, I'm gonna say, to know somebody had to have taught you.
Okay, I'm going to say one thing. For example, I was talking to a French guy, okay, and a guy who's really into black history and everything. And we were talking about Haiti, and he was talking about how Toussaint Louverture gave us independence. And I told him, I said, listen, I'm going to tell you one thing. Toussaint died in April 1803. We became independent in January. The biggest battle was in November. So how can Toussaint be the guy that gave Haiti his independence when he was already dead in jail in France.
Right.
And I told him, I said, it's because the history they gave you as a French citizen, it's because they don't want to talk about Toussaint. I mean, they don't want to talk about Dessalines. They
Dessalines
decide-
was like Malcolm X was what Dessalines was.
Okay, so they don't want to talk about Dessalines, so they talk about Toussaint because Toussaint was the guy that was in
Like,
French
you know,
officer.
Dr.
Yeah.
King,
Yeah, it's
things
like,
like that.
yeah, we talk about Toussaint, but Dessalines, they don't want to talk about it. And when he said, Will, I never knew that.
Yeah, we like to talk about the peaceful person because
Until today, America doesn't talk about
no,
Dessalines.
we love to talk about the peaceful person, right? So we love to talk about Martin because he would turn the other cheek. You don't want to talk about Malcolm because you know you put your hand on Malcolm, you probably
yeah,
draw back
yeah.
a nub. We don't talk about Huey because you know you're not gonna get within hand range of Huey. You see what I'm saying? You be staring at the barrel of a gun. You know what I'm saying? So we don't want to talk violence, but I always tell people like when I talk, like peace is cool when people know that you're willing to use violence. You see what I'm saying? Like if like people will respect your peace, it's like giving them a either or though. But with Martin Luther King, it's always peace. Right? It was always peace, and that's the narrative that we want to teach people. You know what I'm saying? That it's always peace.
Peaceful.
Okay, yeah, it's always peace, but revolution ain't always peace.
No, Haitians for some reason are very different. Like they have an approach. They probably will ask you, you know, nicely, peacefully, and at one point they'll get fed up, and you're gonna see them react a certain way. This is like, I mean, like Haitians.
Till
It's in
now,
our blood.
they still like
Yeah,
that.
it's just
Till
like
now.
that. For instance, one thing, like, you know, when I came here in high school, I learned, you know, about Rosa Parks. I'm like, you know what? I respect these people.
Right.
You know why? Because they train themselves to remain alive. Because a lot of Haitian we talk about, they die early
Right.
because of that mindset. Be like, you know what? Oh, you don't want us to sit on that bus? Well, I'm gonna burn that bus in you. Okay. Oh, we can't eat at this. You can't eat at this restaurant. You know what? I'm gonna burn that restaurant in you. So I'm not eating there. You're not eating there. So that's the mentality we still have today.
Okay,
I'm not saying it's good.
No,
Back then it helped us, but I'm not saying it's a good thing
right.
though.
So one of the questions I get on the road a lot is people be like, "So do you think we need more Malcolms or we need more Martins?" And the answer is we need more of both.
Both, yeah.
It's not more. If we're always peaceful, we're always walked over, right? And most of us ain't built for that. A rock getting thrown at our head struggle. Most people wouldn't have been at the march in the first place. Let's just be honest about it, right?
Yeah.
And most of us ain't built for the militarized Malcolm either. You see what I'm saying? So you need both. That's where the NAACP used to play the thing so perfectly that they always look for, like, if you look back at certain things now, you'd be like, dang, that was kind of grimy why they did it like that. But they play the what the storyline is going to look like narrative all the way through. That's why they always hand-pick certain people before they started certain cases. You see what I'm saying? Like, it was people that didn't get up out of their seat before Rosa Parks. They wasn't the right person.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They weren't the right person because we knew that this person was going to be dragged through the mud. This person was their name. They were going to lose opportunities. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just like when they desegregated the schools. You needed the right person. So sometimes we got to wait for the right person. It's not all like if we always militarize, they'll come through and give us a bloodbath.
Is it just the right person, or we need the right pieces in place as well?
Both.
Because Rosa Parks, if she lost a job for doing what she did, at least we had a community back then
Right.
that could employ her.
Yeah.
Can we say the same thing now?
No.
Which is unfortunate.
I was going to say, I don't know if we can completely disregard it, but yeah, it's a little of both. You need the right pieces, you need the right timing, because everything happens in timing.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, I'm gonna let you go soon, like into, you know, because I know you're a speaker, like to go into things that you normally present. But I have this question for you. I mean, you know, we talk about Black History Month a lot, you know, and earlier I asked you about, like, you know, what are the benefits of Black History Month? You answered that, and my question now, as we've been talking about this for years, are we satisfied the fact that we have the month that we talk about Black History Month, or we gonna do something where this history, Black History Month, could be in books where like the young kids, the next generation coming up, they could read about it, they could like educate themselves on that matter. Instead of us be like, say, for instance, like we having a talk right now,
Right.
I'm pretty sure most people, a lot of things we just mentioned earlier, like most people they never heard about these things.
Right.
So I think the fight should be more like for us to create a legacy, to leave a legacy behind. Not just like, next February we're gonna talk about Black History Month,
Right.
but to make sure that history is written.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, you know what? Even so, we live in the digital age, right? So I would say, even if it's not written, we all got Netflix.
But don't you
Or
want that to
something
be?
like-
Don't you
Yeah,
want
I
that
do.
to be?
I absolutely do, right?
Yeah.
But I always tell people, like, we'll talk about how lazy we are to read something. If you're not gonna read, watch a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like documentaries and articles, because I'm notorious for not picking up a whole book, right?
But the
But I will
sources.
read
How do you
a-
trust the sources?
How do we? I was gonna say, see, that's when you got to cross-reference stuff, because that's
You asking right now, like me for instance. But let's ask somebody else who never been to college. Like when you be like, okay, how do you choose your sources? That person expect when they see something in books to just believe that like it's the gospel.
yeah. I don't know.
And that's what happened to us as black people.
Yeah, I don't
When
know
we
if
read
you can do
something, to us, this is like the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's in a book. I read it in the book.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So how do we go about that?
Okay, this is the bad part of the internet generation, right? And because we live in the generation where anybody can say something on YouTube, anybody can put something on Wikipedia, and anybody can post a meme. Oh, you don't even want to know how many false Black history memes we see all the time. You know what I'm saying? And now anybody can do a book. You used to like anybody can do the print on demand book, and you can just put it out. So the thing I would tell you is like literally you have to ask more. You have to doubt almost everything you read to see how many times you can find it. Right now, it's going to be a point that you're going to keep, especially with a lie. They'll tell you if you tell a lie big enough, you tell it often enough, it'll become the truth. I won't say it becomes the truth; it becomes accepted. Right. So now we just gotta figure out. Sometimes we have to dig deep. There are some things that you will read, you'll be like, I ain't never read that before. Right. So now I need to figure out where you got your sources from to figure out whether you playing with me or that's serious. Very rarely does somebody come up with something completely new that blows everything out the water. So I mean, like I tell people, like if you want to find the truth on anything, don't accept the first thing you read, because a lot of people do that. They read one meme. Like I mean, like that's your source, a meme on Facebook.
Yeah, we shouldn't rely on that.
One meme, like I saw it on a YouTube video. I can go shoot a YouTube video like right now. Like doesn't make it true, but so does the news. Just because we saw it on the news don't make it true either.
Yeah. Because
So it's a matter of putting everything that you can find on the topic together. Like you can't just trust one person, because one person could be wrong. They could be just going off of the information they heard.
So if it's in the news, it can be an alternative fact.
Yeah, man.
You think you can?
That was, but I said it can be an alternative
Because
fact.
I feel like
What's your alternative?
I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like
what I'm trying.
I feel like the government there's a direction that the government want us to take. Like when you watch the news, it's like pretty much takes everybody and put in that direction.
Oh yeah.
If the news is your only source of information, I feel like you following that system where like that they create for you. For instance, the same way they write the books, they choose what to teach you in those college classrooms. If that's all you care about, that's when you go and know things, get knowledge from. I feel like you become part of the system.
Oh,
You wouldn't be talking like that
Right.
if when you went to FAU or you were reading those classroom textbooks.
absolutely. I was gonna say, and if you pay attention to one of the things that's going on in Congress right now, I don't know if y'all have ever heard about net neutrality and things
yeah.
like that. Okay, for people that don't know, net neutrality means that what it means is that the internet providers basically get to take a search engine and they get to play like an editor of a newspaper. So they determine what gets to come up on the first page, what gets to come up on the second page, or dead last, right? So there's a big debate over whether, and they're trying to make it to where, depending on how much you pay for a package for your internet, determines what you see.
Oh, no.
You see what I'm saying? So that's censorship at its finest right there, because I can take what I want you to know, put it on page one. Because let's be honest, most people, when they look up something on Google or
yeah.
Bing or whatever,
The first three
yo,
things.
the first two, 3 pages, and that's gospel.
That's it.
I know people that have wrote like whole papers off of nothing but internet sources, and the first 3 things they saw. It wasn't until a teacher broke somebody's heart in a class and was like, Wikipedia is not considered a real source of information, right? Like, Wikipedia has had to work on that recently. You know what I'm saying? Like, Wikipedia and YouTube, they're cool, but they're not considered reliable sources just because almost anybody can go to it.
Can get, yeah. I mean, I know this guy. He's a Haitian guy. He wrote his own Wikipedia. He put like he has a doctorate degree and things like that. And he went to Haiti and he had jobs at a university.
Right.
And they recently caught him.
First
You
of
know,
all,
just to show you.
who still goes to
You know what I'm saying?
Wikipedia? Nobody uses
No, because when he went to Haiti and he said, Google me.
Wow, that's so smart.
I mean,
Shout
it
out to
is
that
smart,
guy.
though.
Well, we Google everything else.
We
Yeah,
do Google everything.
Google
I was gonna say, but in jobs, people Google people
Google,
all
they
the
do.
time.
All the time.
They
Think
do
about it. How
research
many
here.
people you know that date that they Google people to see what pop up?
Yeah, I Google
That's
all my friends.
legitimate.
Yep. Yeah.
I Google myself just to see.
Yeah.
I Google
I do
myself
that
every
too.
now and then. I want to see.
I
if
Google myself
I
all the
want to see
time.
if I pop up any higher. Sure, I'm paying these people money for the right thing.
So how do we try to go past the just Black History Month? Because what for the overall the media, this Black History Month, after February, it's buried. Let's wait until next year. So should we have a plan to say, okay, I know you say you're doing that, but to make it more of a challenge for everybody, say, okay, no, Black history is history.
world history.
So let's make sure that throughout the year, we're going to highlight the things that Black people have contributed to society, because they try to bury those. Let's try to accept to bring them up to the surface so people can know about it. How do we go about that?
Okay, so it's a few ways that we can do this. So first and foremost, I'm gonna start challenging people to every now and then drop a Black History fact, and don't drop the normal thing.
You do that all the time.
I try my best. Right? So I'm challenging everybody worldwide. Like, if you're listening to this, you're under the sound of my voice. Like, every now and then, drop something. So you hear something, don't
He's a
just
pastor.
like let it go. Somebody needs to see that, right? So that's a challenge, right? The second thing, every now and then, we need to hit a library or something and check out a book, right? Because see, the way movies are made, one of the ways movies are made is they pay attention to this database that tells us what internet searches and what books are being checked out, right? And this is how they decide what historical movies they're going to make. So if we're doing that on the regular, then we got to support these things. Right? So if a movie gets made, I often tell people, like, they be like, well, we need a movie about this, we need a movie about that. Okay, but in what form are you willing to support it? Do you support it if it's only on the silver screen? Or will you support that movie if it's an independent movie? Will you support that movie if it's a documentary? Will you support it if it's straight to television or straight to video? If it's a streaming exclusive? So we got to support these. We got to search out our history. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a matter of waiting for somebody else to do it for us. We can do these things on our own. And if nobody will do the movies for us, we got to set up our own avenues so that we can start to put it out ourselves.
But then I feel like sometimes, even when those things come out, we don't support it. Like, Black people, what's the movie with Taraji,
The
that
Hidden
new
Figures?
movie? Yeah. When I went to see it, there was already 5 Black people in the room, and it was sold out.
Yeah.
Every single person that was in the room were white, older people. And I was like, where are the Black people?
Does economic have anything to do with it?
It's a movie. How much?
Don't
Yes
say
and-
that.
Okay, yes and no. I was finna say, but I'll say this: when we talk about black people in this country being
You know,
number
like,
one
it's-
consumers, yeah, we definitely go see more movies than anybody else. So
Like,
yeah,
I was like,
I'm finna say
wow.
black
I
people-
felt uncomfortable.
If it's Madea, we
I
go.
was like, I felt, yeah,
You're talking about a
exactly,
movie.
Exactly.
And
But-
we buying Jordans for how much?
I'm gonna say black people
Yeah,
are the,
yes,
black
they're gonna
people
do
are
the
the
movie,
key
but who's
in
gonna
anything
support
being
it?
number one in this country almost.
I was sitting there like, I feel uncomfortable. There's no way we like the only 3-5 black people in the room.
But
I was shocked.
But
When
we
I
were
went,
made.
I
We were
was
made
shocked.
like that.
Hidden Figures.
I'm not saying we weren't made like that, but I'm saying like
Because I
And
don't
all
think
these white
there's
people were
anything
excited.
around us that's teaching us to be better, to be different.
we gotta get out of the. We have to
See,
get out.
we gotta get out.
Yeah, we gotta get out of the mindset that everything that's positive has to be boring. Because we got an attitude towards education where we think that, like, we think that we can't be wowed and awed by history. I tell people all the time, history is current events.
Speaking of education, I have a question. It's coming. Actually, I'm coming from the audience. You being a black man in America, at what age did your parent have the talk with you? And when, especially now with everything that's happening, when is it appropriate to have that talk, even with our daughters?
Sad to say, the talk is I don't even know when the correct time is anymore, because they're attacking our children in elementary school and middle school now. So I don't know when the appropriate time. I don't think we have an age appropriate time anymore. When did I have the talk? Oh man, I'ma probably say in elementary school. My grandmother probably was the first person to have the talk with me, just because I think I was probably getting into a lot of fights back then. So my grandmother most definitely would have had to talk with me about like how other people perceive. It probably went over my head, but I know by the time I got to middle school, it clicked. You know what I'm saying? Because then fights aren't broken up by your friends or by the teacher; they're broken up by the police.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when you get to middle school, those fights, like it's a totally different ball game. I'm positive my grandmother and my mother sat me down and had to talk again then. And like when you start hearing about jail, not necessarily the road you want to talk about.
it's a
You know what I'm
different
saying?
ballgame.
Because in our community, we don't get the benefit of being like, oh, I'm underage. Yeah, they treat you
Yeah.
like an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, one thing I wanted to ask you that question, because I know this is what you do professionally. You go on and speak to black young men, and there's one thing you were doing in Fort Lauderdale. I hope you could talk about it. The whole thing, men. What is it again?
Oh, the Men Mold and Men program.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But my thing, for instance, when we talk about the Declaration of Human Rights, at the time that came out, African Americans here in America were still in slavery.
Yes, sir.
So do you think that's represented like you, me at the time? Human rights, do you think?
No, I don't think people still. I still don't think people take our struggle as a human rights thing. Okay, there was a study came out recently, right? And people were asking, they was like, "Do you think enough has been done for blacks in this country?" Right? And one of the guys I wrote with was telling me the results of the study, and he was like, "So what do you think?" And I looked at him, I was like, "No, what do you think?" He's a white guy, and I was like, "No, what do you think?" He was like, "Well, I kind of can see that." I was like, "Oh," so I was like, "So that's your first problem. You think that doing things for black people is a charity case. We're not a charity case. We're asking for the same things you have." See, people want to talk equality, but they don't want to talk equal consequences. You see what I'm saying? Equal access. That's what when we get to that point, then you can tell me that we got enough done.
But-
when we got equal opportunity, equal access, and equal consequences, now we talking.
We have more to
that is a-
discuss.
that is-
Hold on, Mackenzie. We have more to discuss. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. You're listening to Bobby X and Will on Groove Motion Radio, Canada.
Primes parolier. Yeah. Bakary Poutin. Yeah. Négritude, blackout. Lyriciste bande. ça même. Blackout. J'ai pas besoin qu'on me commémore, je me commémore tout seul. J'ai pas besoin qu'on me commémore. Blackout. Afrique à nouveau western. Je braque les dignitaires en dirigeant. Je suis même pas expert. Je suis ni militaire ni militant. Quand le peuple espère pouvoir diriger ses dirigeants, les colons sectaires reviennent diviser nos dividendes en forme d'10 000 bandes à qui profite le trafic. Les noirs se tirent dessus, pourtant les armes ne viennent pas d'Afrique. Graphique, les paradoxes, on connaît, on peut être riche et mourir de pauvreté va le demander au peuple congolais. Je porte ma colère comme un faux coupable en garde à vue. On reviendra beaucoup plus redoutable après ce carnage. J'entends les bruits de balles, on se tait pendant que le fric parle. Mais non ma soeur ne flippe pas, élève ton poing en l'air. Guerre civile en Côte d'Ivoire, blackout. Génocide au Rwanda, blackout. Guerre communautaire en Centrafrique, blackout. Crise humanitaire au Darfour, Renoir, blackout. Kwame Nkrumah, blackout. Patrice Lumumba, blackout.